in the time that the Rams have not had a first-round pick, they're going to the playoffs 75% of the time. That one season they did miss, they were the first team out and still we're above 500. So we're looking okay there. Let's take a look at these mock drafts, though. All right, so we'll first open it by letting you guys know that the general consensus is that the Rams do need a center, the Rams do need cornerbacks, and linebackers. That's like the general consensus. I've also seen wide receiver be floated in there a lot. I tend to disagree with that one. With Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Deshaun Jackson, and Van Jefferson, I'm not going to put that as a high need. I think that those four are guys that you can roll with basically the entire season, and then you only get like the Natsons and stuff like that every once in a while. So I don't think the wide receiver is that really big of a need for the LA Rams like some others. So let's take a look. We'll start with Todd McShay from ESPN. His pick for the Rams is linebacker Chaz Surratt out of North Carolina. So my notes on him, and to let you guys know, I do watch a little bit of film here and there, especially if it's a name-specific guy that I can go seek out and kind of check out his stuff. Not highlights. That's not the way to do it. You want to see just like games from a person. So if you typed in like Chaz Surratt versus whatever, then I'm sure it'll give you options on YouTube, and then you can watch them that way. So you can also see the negative plays. We don't want just highlights. We don't want them just blowing up blockers and lighting people up, recovering fumble, scoring touchdowns and stuff. We also want to see what is he bad at, what does he need to improve at. So these are my notes on these gentlemen as well. So good speed and instincts, feels like he could be a day one starter or take over that role at some point during the season, opposite of Leonard Floyd. And the reason that I say that really is because we don't know what Ogbonnaya Okoronkwo is going to look like. We don't know what Terrell Lewis is going to look like. So Surratt coming in, he could be a guy that could kind of fill in that role and start rushing passers opposite of Leonard Floyd. Next up, we'll go to Luke Easterling's pick from the draft wire. He has the Rams taking offensive tackle James Hudson out of Cincinnati. Solid pick for the future. That would, if this was for the future, that would make sense. This pick would have little to no impact on the 2021 season. That's why I don't think that this really happens. I don't think he would really get any playing time behind Andrew Whitworth, Rob Havenstein, Joseph Noteboom, Bobby Evans on day one. I just don't see it happening. I think this would be a depth move, and for that reason, I think this is unlikely. I don't think that Hudson would be the pick for the Rams at 57. These are all 57 overall, by the way. Just the first pick for the Rams. Next one here comes from Ryan Wilson of CBS Sports. He has the Rams taking Aaron Banks, a guard out of Notre Dame. Another unlikely, another likely 2021 backup pick if this were to be the selection. The Rams already have other spots that they could address this year over offensive line, in my opinion. Even at the center position, I think that the Rams do have the ability to make moves there. If they don't like Coleman Shelton and they don't like Brian Allen, Austin Corbett is a guy that you can squeeze over there. Now with the departure of Austin Blythe, who is now a Kansas City Chief. But this pick in particular, I think that this would be another pick of the future kind of thing, a depth pick, a guy that you would have around for a few years and watch him develop on the bench, and then possibly see at some point getting him actually into the rotation. But I would see this as a very unlikely pick as well for the LA Rams specifically. Next one here from the Draft Network is Dre Harris's selection, offensive lineman Landon Dickerson out of Bama. So actually, this one's an interesting one. He transferred from FSU, went to Bama, played actually really well. So of the offensive linemen I've already named, Dickerson does feel the most prepared to actually overtake someone on the offensive line this season and actually maybe start. So if Austin Corbett goes to center, Dickerson slides in at guard. That would make total sense to me. This pick does make a lot of sense. I'm just not really convinced that he's still there at 57. I think that Landon Dickerson is off the board at this time. So for that reason, I would be surprised at this one. But if he is on the board, that would not surprise me to see the LA Rams take a swing at him. Next one here from the Draft Network as well, Brentley Weissman has the Rams taking linebacker Jamin Brown. I'm hoping I'm saying that right. I do apologize if I am not. I am also not convinced that this gentleman will be here at the number 57 pick. There's reports saying that he's squeezing his way into a late first kind of pick. So 57, we may be way out of the ballpark on this one. He did have a strong day, and that is really capturing some attention. That's what got the conversations really started on Davis at the linebacker spot there. So seeing this, I don't see this as a super big possibility, but this is the same mock drafter that also has the Rams taking a tight end at 103, and I think that's extremely unlikely. I mean, obviously, it always depends on the player. You don't only just draft for position, but a tight end at 103, I think that the Rams would be, I don't want to say wasting a pick, because again, it does depend on the player, but at this spot, with some of the guys that the Rams have, I don't know. I just don't see a tight end, so that kind of just plays into the fact that I don't think Davis will be there at 57, but I also don't see the Rams taking a tight end at all in this draft, especially just their third pick, which is at 103. This last one here comes from Vincent Frank from Sportsnot. He has the Rams taking wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown out of USC, so wouldn't have to move far. Frank calls St. Brown a need for the Rams at wide receiver, which is something I already said I disagree with. I'm not convinced that the Rams do need a wide receiver, that it's a need. That's the wording that I guess that's tripping me up is the team needs. The team doesn't need a wide receiver when you have Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Deshaun Jackson, and Van Jefferson on the roster. I don't think you need a wide receiver. Like, it's not like if the Rams don't get a wide receiver and address that position specifically in the draft, it's like, oh, well, it sounds like they're going to the playoffs. They're not Super Bowl bound because they didn't get a wide receiver. It doesn't make any sense to me. So to me, that's kind of what need is that if you don't get this position addressed, your team's not very good. You have a hole in your team, and that's not how the Rams are at the wide receiver spot. I just named those four a couple of times. Even if you just take those top three, Woods, Kupp, and Jackson, because, I mean, Jefferson, in fairness, is still unproven. We don't actually know what he brings to the table at full capacity. So, for that reason, I'm not saying need. His skill set, though, does seem to fit with what the Rams want to do, but I would hardly classify wide receiver as a need. And to go with the first pick at wide receiver, that would actually surprise me. I know it's 57, and at that point, you're kind of at mercy to what the 56 picks before you were and who you wanted, so you have to have, Rams are probably entering this pick or entering the draft with 60 guys that they want at 57, and then they're going to pick from the guys there. Obviously the list, it's not going to be that big. There's not 60 guys that you're like, if he's there, we want him, Either way, unless Trevor Lawrence falls to 57, then what do you do? All right, let's go into my own personal mock here. And this does address some of the needs that we've already talked about, and also there's one luxury pick in here. You guys will get that as well. So nothing too wild here. These are just my positional mock. And actually, this is an idea I got actually from the comment section. A video. Probably like a month and a half ago or something like that. Somebody had commented and asked if I could do a position mock. So this is actually for you. I don't remember who you were. But this is telling you also, I do read the comments. I do see what you guys are saying. Sometimes I don't reply. I'm a terrible replier. If you guys know anybody who has my number and tries to message me or anything like that, I'm awful at responding to people. I'm trying to get better. We're working on it. But either way, I do read your comments, and this is stolen straight from the comments. So thank you to whoever suggested that I do a position mock, because I hate mock drafts with Either way. All right. So at 57, I have the Rams going with the linebacker position. This is a pretty strong linebacker class, especially when you're looking at this gap, that 57 gap, where we're in the second round. The second to fourth round linebacker spots actually look pretty good. There could be a decent chunk of linebackers picked in that realm right there. Next at 88, I have the Rams going offensive line, potentially center. I think that is something that the Rams do address at a decent time in the draft. Early enough, 88 makes total sense to me. Next up, I have the Rams at 103 going with a cornerback. And the reason that I think the Rams do take a corner in this draft, decently high, 103 is not super high, but it's high enough that I think that the Rams could address that there, because, with Jalen Ramsey and Darius Williams, the depth does fall off after that. We still don't actually know what David Long brings to the table, so, and he's kind of penciled in right now as CB3 for that slot spot. So, I'm not completely sold on him yet, just because we really haven't seen him. So I don't think that shouldn't blow anybody's mind saying that I don't know about David Long yet, because who does? I mean, the coaches, they see him way more than we do. 141, I do have the Rams going wide receiver at this spot. I think that this is the spot here where I think that schematically, there will probably be people that we really like that we think will fit in really well with us. And that's where I think that gets addressed. 209, I do have the Rams going back to the offensive line. I think this is somewhere that the Rams are going to want some depth at. And also to kind of be able to evaluate for the future. So, I mean, Havenstein is one of the last remaining St. Louis Rams. He is a little expensive, so I do think the Rams could move on from him at some point. Whitworth, I mean, at some point he's got to retire, right? I mean, he's like 85 now, so he's getting real close, and this will probably be his last year. And now that we bumped up the games per year, that's just going to be more wear and tear on his old body. So for that reason, I think that the Rams do bring in some depth to be able to evaluate those guys. The loss of Aaron Cromer, it does hurt there as well. So I think that numbers are going to be a benefit to the Rams this offseason, especially when the evaluations come in. And at 252, I have the Rams going back to the linebacker spot. But honestly, it's 252. This is like a candidate to be cut, all right? I think that's totally reasonable. That was all for this clip, guys, but if you guys would like to watch the entire episode, make sure you guys subscribe. You can see the whole thing. Subscribe away. Also, subscribes are what feeds Carl. Puts food in his bowl. That's my cat. Also watch this video. Peace! Go Rams!